Hi, this is All for Impact, and I am here with our nonprofit of the month for January, Cards Over Clicks. This is Dennis, and we're just going to have a great conversation today on Cards Over Clicks, a little bit about his background, and what Cards Over Clicks is about.
That sounds great, and thank you so much, Carolyn. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. So first, give me a little detail on your background.
My background is I am a Navy veteran, as well as I just retired last year with 36 years of federal service as a national training instructor for the Social Security Administration. And that's pretty much, I've done all kinds of things with them in the civilian sector. However, in retirement, I'm making a move and doing something that I am very passionate about, which is Cards Over Clicks.
Okay. Have you always been a card collector? Tell me about your card collecting background.
I have been. In fact, it all started back in the early 70s when it was so much easier. Life was so much slower, where we could just ride our bikes very safely at that time down to the mom and pop grocery store, get a pack of cards for 10 or 15 cents, and then you go back to the neighborhood and you trade those cards with your friends and neighbors. And that was the only thing to do. We had 3 stations, TV-wise. So, we had to play outside. That was all we did. So I started collecting then, and over the years, when the pandemic happened, I ended up taking that time to inventory all the cards I had in my collection. And that's when I kind of realized, I think maybe as I grow into this later stage of life, it's time to reshape and refocus on some sort of legacy project. And that's what Cards Over Clicks is.
I like that. I like that a lot. Your mission, your vision, what is the vision of Cards Over Clicks?
Certainly. Cards Over Clicks encourages children to take social media timeouts while developing learning skills through card collecting. And they're not just developing learning skills, but they're developing social skills as well. There was a recent article done by CBS that there was a bus accident. I believe it was up in Michigan. And during that bus accident, there was one boy who noticed the bus driver was having a health situation and stopped the bus. No other kids on the bus recognized it. Why? Because they were all on social media or on their phone. But this young man, he was situationally aware that something was happening and something needed to be done. And he did. And if he wasn't, and he doesn't have a cell phone, by the way, if he wasn't aware, that bus accident could have been tragic. So that is why we want to get out there and try to give kids an option. And one of the things we do is we've collaborated with local teachers, and they've helped us create educational worksheets for each grade level. And so what we do is we take these educational worksheets, we package them with cards, and it can be sports cards, baseball, football, basketball. It can be Pokemon, very popular, especially amongst the pre-K to 5th graders. Can't keep them in stock enough. Also, Star Wars, Gundam, Disney. Disney's really hot right now as well, and especially with the girls, they're all coming in for the princesses. So if I can get them interested in cards, and at the same time there's a fun educational worksheet in there that they can do to make them engage and think a little bit more or think differently, then that's what it's all about.
As a former educator, I really like that concept. I think that's great. And as someone also with a teenager now, I can definitely agree that kids and youth are spending way too much time staring down at their cell phones and on social media. So, I see that with my daughter and some of the youth that I work with. So I think this is a great program you've started. Do you have any needs as far as card needs or funding needs, or what? How are you going to scale and grow?
I have been blessed. A lot of my cards are gone already. And I know there are folks who have been collectors for years maybe they're heading toward the end of their life, or they're like, hey, I want to minimalize, I don't want all this stuff left around so my kids have to go through with it if I get sick or something of that sort. So I accept donations of cards. I do not care about value. And right now, in today's age, it's all about value. And I've had people come to me and says, well, you could turn around and sell that card. I don't care. What I want is I want to engage kids. So if I have a card, and it also takes me about a week to process 400 of these customized card packs. If I spend time trying to scan every card and looking for a value, I wouldn't get anything done. So that is one aspect about what we do. But you were talking about fundraising. Fundraising, I don't really have any kind of fundraising. Each card packet basically cost me about 25 cents to produce.
Okay.
The cards I receive, I get from volunteers, from donations from card shops, from individuals, and things of that sort. My biggest expense is printing those educational worksheets and the QR codes from my website and informational guidance and things like that I give to people when I'm out at events or at schools or classrooms. One of our focuses here for 2026 is to get into more classrooms and into more schools, especially if Miss Smith, a fourth grade teacher, could challenge her class to all read 5 books by the end of the month, then I would be happy to visit the school the month after during the lunch hour when we're not impacting any kind of school hours, but during the lunch hour, the kids could come up and get a pack of cards of whatever they like, depending on availability. Because like I said, I'm running a little low on the old Pokemon cards. But when it comes to Star Wars and Disney Lorcana and MLB and NFL, I've got plenty of those right now.
Okay, so cards is always a need for you, and maybe a partnership with marketing, somebody in the marketing department, printing would be.
I'm an old guy. I go to my grandkids for tech help. So I definitely need marketing assistance. And I see those ads online where, hey, you can do this or you can do that. And all of that kind of frightens me in today's age. So I would welcome anyone who could provide any kind of marketing assistance. And to bring back the follow up on a point that we began our conversation with today is, I have 3 grandchildren, and they are ages 3, 5, and 7. And prior to me launching Cards Over Clicks, and I did a test run a couple of times when I was still fully employed. And most of the time when I did test runs, it would be during the Halloween season, because that's where the kids are, and you do a lot of trunk or treats here in the South, and it's what we do. So when I test marketed, I figured out what worked and what didn't work then. So I knew whenever I retired, I kind of had a plan. So once I retired, I asked my grandkids, I said, if you had a PS5 for an entire month, or you had Pokemon cards to play with, and we were snowed in and there's nothing else we could do, no TV, no movies, they came back, all 3 of them, even the little 3-year-old, which he really doesn't know what he's doing, but I think he just follows the lead of his brothers. Pokemon. So that told me there is a way to start getting our kids off of the internet, off of the game stations, and they're creating gaming platforms now for solo individuals. More so like when I was a kid, we had Atari,
right?
And Pong, but you needed 2 people to play those. Anymore, these games are developed for 1-person play. So it almost kind of individualizes a person, and they're not situationally aware because they're tuned out. They're only focused on that game. And just like the boy on the bus, he was aware of the entire situation, and he was able to make a difference. That's what we are trying to do with Cards Over Clicks.
That's very good. I've got a couple questions left for you. As far as volunteers go, do you have any opportunities for volunteers? I know I've seen you out in the community, and it's just you behind a table with your cards. can you integrate others into this as volunteers?
Absolutely. In fact, I actually have a volunteer that I met at one of the first events I was ever at. And he was like, hey, he's college age. And he's like, hey, man, I really like what you're doing here. And I said, well, come on and join me. So I got him a shirt, and he's joined us for a number of community events. Just outstanding. He's turned to me and he's like, I don't know how you do this or keep it all straight. And I says, well, don't worry about that. Just be kind and just share with the kids and the parents the mission of why we're doing this. And I've received an overwhelming response, a positive response from parents and teachers. Right now, like I said, the big thing for me is getting in the classrooms, getting into schools, and also networking and forming more relationships with teachers, because I do have a need to continually get better. I want to keep meeting the Georgia educational requirements. So I need real life teachers to tell me, all right, what are kids struggling with in the classroom and how can we help them do better? So that's one of the elements, another one of the elements that we're trying to do.
Okay, I have quite a few teacher friends in the area. They're all high school teachers, though. Do you offer that? Is this just for elementary?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, one of the things I would like to do is set up at a high school football game, because and what I do is for pre-K all the way through 12th grade. So if you're in school, that's great. I could get packs into the hands of so many kids, brothers, sisters, at a high school football game. As we know, high school football is king here in the South. So that would be awesome. And yes, even I accept volunteers, piggybacking off your previous question, and with the volunteers helping in all kinds of aspects, because as the request for events keep coming in, and they're starting to pour in now, I have to be able to keep up with that demand. And over this past summer, I've made quite a bit of inventory, but that inventory is getting worked down. So there will be opportunity where I'll need to get a bunch of folks together. We'll buy a couple pizzas and we'll just put these card packs together on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon.
That's perfect. You have a lot of great things going on. Do you have, I know we're in the cold season here as far as temperature goes. Do you have anything lined up for spring already as far as where you're going to be and how you're going to impact? Yes,
I do. Actually, I have, there are a number of card shows coming up. There's one in Macon on the 28th of February, and actually Dale Murphy, the Braves MVP, is going to be there for that. It's a great card show run by Middle Georgia Collectibles, and they've been a gracious donor to Cards Over Clicks as well, different sports cards and things of that sort. Also, there's other card shows that I have in the works in Columbus, Georgia, as well as Gainesville, Georgia, and up in March 28th and 29th, I'll actually be in Cincinnati, Ohio, for the Cincinnati Memorabilia Show.
Oh.
And I'll be up there, and I have all kinds of cards for those. Those folks have been very generous, and I've known some friends since I grew up in Ohio. It's great to have those longtime friends that say, hey, man, I think what you're doing, you should bring it here. And so that we're doing that. We do have a Spring Hill Elementary School lined up in April of this year as well for kind of a career day, but they want to bring me in to try to utilize the cards in a manner that will help the kids. And I think the kids are going to have a good time with it as well. But I'm always looking for more schools to sign on. And I've got, in fact, see, now you got me going. I'm not going to be able to stop. I'll be at the I-58 Mission next week, just supporting them and being there for them. I've got there's a Boy Scout banquet they want me to come for, so I'm doing that. There's a Pokemon party at the Fayette County Library on the 26th of February.
That sounds perfect. You're taking all your cards or just Pokemon?
You know what? I'm taking all of them.
Okay.
We've had some discussions, or do we just do Pokemon? The librarian said, can you mix it in a little? And I said, sure. No, even though it is a Poke party. So, and again, I have to weigh and balance the Pokemon cards to make them last.
Right.
You know, the one thing about Pokemon cards is that I've learned is I have to, when I get out Pokemon cards, usually it's just 3 because they're so popular. So I'll have to put them back to back to back. Because if I leave them out, the kids will fight over that particular card. I learned that during my test runs before I even began this whole project. So in fact, the other day I had a kid, he took, he was like 2nd grade. He took some Pokemon cards and he came back later and said, "Sir, can I trade these in?" I'm like, no, you got what you got. But hey, did you do that worksheet?
That's Pokemon cards have been that way, I think, since I remember them when back in the 90s, the mid to late 90s. I was never a Pokemon card collector, but my younger brother was. And this funny story I'm just going to share really quick. On the school bus, he had this really valuable Pokemon card. Again, he's 4th or 5th grade. And a kid up the street bought it from him for $100 cash on the school bus. Of course, my parents made him give it back. You know,
Sure.
they had to do the trade because his parents didn't know that he bought it for $100. So, I mean, but, you know, if they were that valuable in the 90s, just think of, I can just imagine nowadays, like, kids are still going crazy over Pokemon cards.
Well, and that brings up a situation about security. One of the things that I've seen at events is I've had, and you know, no matter what business you in, you're going to have the kind of the seedy side of things. I had a couple of gentlemen come by, and with their cell phone, they were trying to scan some of the cards on my table. And I politely asked them to just, you know, I realize, I understand what they're doing, but please turn away and walk away. These are for children, the children. And I'll put like a Hall of Famer, or well, like a Dale Murphy card. I'll put him out front because older kids know who Dale Murphy is.
Right.
Younger kids, maybe not so much. I'll try to put some of the more current, like Ronald Acuna or
Some of the
Bichon
newer
for
baseball players,
or
yeah.
newer football players too.
Yeah.
I was at an event where I was in a parking lot where I had about 15 kids, not a cell phone in sight. And they were one kid was trying to trade a Patrick Mahomes card for Pokemon cards.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, it was, they were wheeling and dealing. But you know what? They were talking, they were laughing, they were having a great time.
They were having a face-to-face conversation rather than being on
Exactly.
their device,
And
which
that's
is the
what it's all
goal,
about.
right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Which is the goal. Speaking of a really expensive baseball card, so I know you said if you get a really expensive one donated, you just put it in a pack. Now, have you ever thought of maybe selling that card and then putting whatever proceeds you get from that back into Cards Over Clicks?
I have. There was a pitcher in last year's Major League playoffs, and I saw his card. Generally, what I get are what they call base cards coming from the stores, because when you have any kind of sports cards now, you're going to go to a local card shop, you're going to rip it, which is what they call, they rip the pack, and you're going to look for an autograph or something really, really valuable. And the base cards are just that. They're base cards. There's nothing special about them. So that's what I get donated for the most part. But this one base card was a Seattle pitcher from last year, and I, just for giggles, I scanned it, and it was about $29 value. Now, would I get $29? Well, if I had a Seattle fan in front of me, I might get close to that. If I have just a regular card shop, they might give me $10 in credit. And then I would exchange that for something that I could actually use as a giveaway during an event.
Okay.
So when it comes to actually getting dollar for dollar, it's normally not going to happen.
So you can't put a card on eBay and try to sell it for
Well, you can.
right? Like that's not, I know that's not your goal, but.
Correct. I would be more than, and the other thing is to do that, I am one person.
Right.
And my whole week, every week, I'm putting cards together and I'm talking to people, I'm making contacts, I'm going to events. And I'm busier now than when I was a federal civilian employee. It's just been nonstop. But this is something I'm passionate about and I love, and that's why I'm doing it.
Sounds like you've found your niche in retirement.
I have.
So that's always a good thing. Thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. Again, you Nonprofit of the Month. The first one, we started the Nonprofit of the Month series in 2026. So January, you and I have been working over the last few months kind of in a partnership, just kind of getting Cards Over Clicks off the ground. So I was delighted to have you as the very first Nonprofit of the Month with all over it.
Thank you very, very much. I'm very appreciative of and grateful for all of your help and assistance and guidance and just getting things off the ground. We are actually going to have a ribbon cutting at the Fayette County Chamber of Commerce on March 12th at 11:30 in the morning, and there will be light refreshments as well. 'Cause I know a lot of people who like the refreshments, so I got to bring the refreshments. So I'm doing that. So if you're in the area on March 12th, please stop by and visit with us and see what we're about.
Fantastic. Thank you again for being here, Dennis.
Thank you.